You could
So
almost throw the list price out the door and, and start just looking at comparable properties, what they've sold, what you're going to need to do because, a list price to say that it's listed at 450 and it sells for 560 or whatever
yeah,
those numbers are, obviously they're not even in the realm. But
and that's hard for buyers because they're like, so you want me to write $110, 110,000 above list price? And I was
yeah,
like, and then you have to then show them comparables and say, well, these are the last ones that have sold,
yeah.
and they've massively underpriced this property to get into a bidding war for this many offers, right? Welcome back to the Bamford and Co podcast, Beyond the Keys. I'm here once again with my brother Ryan. He keeps on making it back to the show, so welcome, Ryan.
Well, thanks, bud. Thanks for inviting me back as well too. Yeah.
So, I mean, our market is just as wild as it has been, and I think some of those things that we talked about, presentation of offers, I think those are increasing. Probably not as much as we might have thought, but they keep on going up. And so, can you give us maybe a little bit of a market update on what's happening in Saskatoon? And probably, I mean, you can't even look at April anymore. It's like what's even happening in May? Like,
Yeah.
where are we at?
Well, obviously it's been extremely strong market out there. Is that we are still seeing, like you're saying, ton of multiple offers. I think more people are doing the presentation. Maybe not, like you're saying, as much as we thought that would change over right off the bat. But the way it sits right now in today's market, as of today, just right now, is that we have 813 listings in the market. That includes single family townhouses, condos, for 300,000 people. And then also out of that 813 is that we have 290 conditional sales. So, you know, we don't have a whole lot of inventory. They are moving as fast as they come onto the market, right?
Yeah, I looked at that number when we were just talking about it, and I was like, oh man, we are increasing in listings. And then I was like, oh no, we're not, right? As soon
Yeah.
as they come on, like we're staying kind of around that 500, 525 for active, like available.
For active, yeah. So right now is it we have 317 single family homes that are actually available in the market, 42 townhouses and 126 condos. So, it doesn't matter whatever way we look at it, is that we are in a supply deficit for a period of time to come here. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So where do you see, I guess, the next month taking us? Do you see that we're going to maybe possibly get that major increase of like that? Well, I mean, I guess,
Not a chance.
yeah,
I don't think that. I really do not think that there's going to be an
yeah.
influx of new
And this isn't
listings.
funny, just so you know, like it's just that we're trying to figure this out ourselves, right? We're trying to give our clients our own, I guess, perspective. And so there's many things that we look at here, but at the same time, it's just we go over this continually. We keep on saying it's harder to find properties. And so we try to give people an update just for the rationalization that the rest of the country is not in the greatest spot, right? If you
Right.
look at Toronto and
Our
look
bigger
at
centers,
Vancouver and
especially.
the rest of it, even Calgary is slowing down. And Saskatoon, because of many things that we'll talk about, we don't see this just being a bubble, right? We see this to continue to going. And so, yeah, so
Well,
sorry for cutting you off
that's
there.
okay. It happens all the time. but, like we are seeing, especially, the demand is super high out there. The only thing that I think that we're not seeing go in crazy multiple offers or even, having multiple offers is kind of new builds on the outskirts of the city almost, or
Right.
the edges of the
The newer
city, the
neighborhoods.
newer
Yeah.
developments. Is that like when we are looking at things that are centrally located in Saskatoon, is that there's a ton of demand for them. Most of them, I think last week is that, the least amount of offers that I was competing with was 5,
Right.
up to 32.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just kind of gauging on where the market sits, where property, like what's in the most demand. If it's bungalows, 2 stories, bungalow townhouses, those kind of things. It's just a gauging on what specific properties you're looking at is kind of telling you where that market is, right?
It's interesting. I just viewed a couple properties this weekend that were presentation of offers that I thought were asking too much money, and they didn't do anything to prepare their house for sale.
Hmm.
And guess what?
It went over list.
No, they didn't actually.
Oh,
They didn't get any offers.
oh,
They
okay,
didn't get any offers, and now they're sitting on the market again, 10 grand under where they started at.
right.
So I think where we're at is if you prepare a property and you price it accordingly, you can get multiple offers, but you can't. It's not just any property at any price, and people
Yeah.
are going to bid it up, right?
And
Like
it's also got
people
to
are
be
hitting their like some people are starting to hit their tops.
for sure. Well, and they've adjusted how many times in the last, if they've been looking for this house, they probably adjusted 2 or 3 times about what their needs and wants have changed over the time just because of the price points of the properties. Like,
Right.
but like what you're talking about there is that, this month we've had what, 100, this month at or list, we've had 62% of the properties go over list.
Right.
Okay. Within $5,000 of list, is it 14%?
So we're looking at just over 75% of properties are just around asking price, if
Or
not
more.
or over.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like when we're seeing a $70,000 or $80,000 over list offer, it's because the realtor has massively underpriced this property, right?
agree.
Like the one that you went out on the other day, that when we were sitting down and trying to crunch numbers on it, because it sometimes takes a couple minds to come together to try to figure out where our perspectives are, because we sometimes feel like we're crazy here trying to be like, is it that much over list price? But these properties aren't priced anywhere where they should have started in the first place.
You could almost throw the list price out the door and, and start just looking at comparable properties, what they've sold, what you're going to need to do, because, a list price to say that it's listed at 450 and it sells for 560 or whatever those numbers are, obviously they're not even in the realm. But
and that's hard for buyers, because they're like, so you want me to write $110,000 above list price? And I was like, and then you have to then show them comparables and say, well, these are the last ones that have sold, and they've massively underpriced this property to get into a bidding war for this many offers, right? And so it's hard for people to grasp and to get their minds around.
for sure.
And so I think that that's something to take in consideration, that some of these properties just were way underpriced.
Oh, for sure. And, I think that a lot of them are underpriced and they're just trying to see how much they can possibly get for them, right? But at the same time, that's our job, is to go in, do the evaluation, to make sure that we're educating our clients to say, hey, guess what? These are what the last properties have sold for in the neighborhood, but also is that this is what the replacement cost, looking at, different costs of replacement, maybe what the land value is, and try to give them the full big picture spectrum of,
Or what you're looking for in that neighborhood, and how many have actually came up in the last year.
That's another factor.
There's a big factor on, like, okay, so if this is the one for you, are you hoping for that 1 out of 5 that's going to maybe come up for the remaining of the year, and we don't know where that's priced at?
Yeah.
Right? So those are things to be taken into consideration.
Well, for sure. And we're still seeing less, homes being listed than we have historically as well, too. But I do think that, like we're 12% down just from last month, from April,
For the amount of listings
compared to the last year, right? But I think that that's also because look how many clients that we have that we've done evaluations for that are out there trying to find the right home and then to list after that fact, right? Is that once they've secured their family home, then they're bringing it to the market. So
immediately.
Exactly, but I think that's where you're also seeing a little bit less
Lower
homes
the inventory. Yeah, it's
at
kind
this
of
time of year, right? Like
it's kind of reversed. It was a lot of times we'd sell it first and then find them something, and now it's almost like they're just holding fast until that property comes onto the market.
Yeah. So to me is that I think that there's going to be a ton of activity. This isn't going to slow down by any means. There is going to be, I know that there's always kind of a point where buyers feel like the prices are getting too high. I do think that that might happen for a little bit as an adjustment, but at the same time is that once they kind of realize that these properties are still selling, the market's going to continue to be as strong as ever.
Yeah, I have a lot of people asking me continually, like, do you think this is going to slow down? And I start breaking down the numbers game.
Yeah.
I start talking about mining. I start talking about how many trades we have and how many, and we don't have, like, all these large companies don't have enough contractors, enough people in the trades to be able to even meet the need of what construction's going on right now.
Right.
And then the amount of people that are coming here for immigration and so forth, even from around Saskatchewan, we can continually keep on talking about it, but it's just a numbers game. Like, it's like we just don't have enough of that happening to be able to meet the need. Where maybe larger centers, they've been massively building for a long period of time, and then people have been kind of holding off, but they have more of that rental pool. I mean, I think Calgary last month just went down, or I guess in the last year went down 10% on their rentals. So their actual, the rental prices actually decreased. And so that just means because there's a supply, right?
Yep.
And I think that quite a few years ago, they built a massive amount of rentals to be able to meet the need. And I think that's possibly what's going to happen here, is that 3 years from now, we'll probably see more of an even market on the rental side, just because right now we're like,
Well, it's because that's where a lot of the construction has led to. Like we were talking in past podcasts about the builders switching to more building doors on the rental side of things than building single family homes.
yeah, it was interesting. I was talking to the sales manager from Homes by Dream, and they're still building spec homes in Regina, but just not in Saskatoon. And I asked like, what was the reason, and there really wasn't a reason. And so I was interested in that, but I do know that they're building a lot of rentals as well too. They're building rentals here, and then also doing the land development.
Right.
And then sitting down with other people trying to figure out, is it affordable for them to be able to get into this building side of things with the cost being so high, materials and trades and so forth. That's another factor, right?
Yeah.
Like a smaller builder doesn't have the capacity to be able to build in or be able to buy in quantity.
Well, and
to
a
be
large
able to get
builder is
those
only building
prices.
because of their buying in quantity, and even
Yeah.
then the margins aren't what most people think that they are.
Yeah, it'll be interesting with I guess the changing of the prime minister, if we will start cutting some of those, I guess the building code and regulations and so forth that make it a little bit more inexpensive for builders to be able to do things, and changing bylaws and zoning and so forth. That'll be really interesting to see how that factors, because when we look at affordable housing, I don't think it's possible. It doesn't even make sense when somebody says we can build for like affordable housing, unless we're taking the side that's, I guess, already building and then move it to affordable. But then what does that what happens to then either the rental or properties then are new coming to the market? That just becomes more demand on that as well too, right? So
I think it's pretty tough to build affordable housing, and with what we're dealing with, the costs and the land costs and those kind of things, right? It's kind of, yeah.
yeah, even if the government comes up with $2.5 billion, it's who's going to build those houses, because they don't have enough builders to be able to do it.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I saw something the other day that it was like there's only like 365,000 plumbers in the United States. And there's like,
Okay.
360 million people.
That's fair. It's a stat
like,
I wasn't
well, no,
really
it's just like the factor is that our trades, everybody would talk people out of going into the trades back in the day, because they
Right.
said they wouldn't be able to make a living and so forth. And right now, I think it's something crazy that in the next 10 years, 50% of our trades are going to retire.
Interesting. Well, we're certainly in demand, and to be able to build is that we're going to need, the people to build it, which is the trades, and
Right.
and we're going to need to kind of loosen up some of those, those guidelines that are held and with all the new development side of things.
That, and then there's also a lot of our trades that go straight to mining. The mining
Wow.
industry, they're like really in demand as well too, right? So
For sure.
But
And
that-
we are the gateway to the north as well too. So
yeah, we are, and so I guess that's why we're just talking a little bit, because everybody's like, oh, it's just a bubble, it's going to stop. And as you start getting deeper into talking to different companies and to different industries and the rest of it, I don't think this is going anywhere.
I don't think so either. I think that we're going to be on a, I don't know about property values increasing for all those times in the next, 3 to 5 years, but at the same time is that we're going to be in demand, for housing for that timeline.
Right.
For sure. Right. And that's even if we put all of our eggs in the basket and build as much as we can. Just
Right.
because right now is that we're in a deficit. There's no doubt about that.
So if someone's looking to sell in this market and then buy, what would you encourage them to do?
I would say we should go take a look at some houses and have a conversation about what's the best strategy for them. Selling before buying is really tough to do. Sometimes you're looking for months or depending on how specific you are, it could be years, right? So you got to grow with the market as you're waiting for the property. Even my last meeting I was with just before this, is we were talking about the same thing. It takes a long time to find that right property for your family, so you got to grow with the market as you're looking, and then as soon as we find that property, we kind of have all of our ducks in a row, so we can take that to market as soon as we have that other deal in place.
That makes a lot of sense. Another conversation that I've had with clients too is that, this market's moving so fast, you might not find your dream house that you're going to be in for the next 15 to 25 years. And if you keep on searching for that dream house, you're just now maybe leaving yourself out of getting even into this market, right? Because if somebody's in a townhouse or something else, those houses are going up way more than those townhouses are.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe thinking a little bit strategically on, you know what, maybe let's get into something that would be good for 5 years, and then we'll look into something a little bit down the road.
Yeah. Well, things are increasing so quickly that I think people have to look at, we are always looking at the big picture of where real estate's at the same time as that I do agree with you. You need to adjust some of those things because those large homes in the perfect location might be a little bit farther out of your price point than what some people can do right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be an exciting spring, and I think keep on going all the way through the summer. Historically, usually things, I mean, we've been in it for 20 years, usually July and August slowed down and everybody went away to the lake. And this year, I think the momentum is going to keep on going. And I think that if you stay active and you make it an urgent thing, you'll be able to maybe be able to find some opportunities.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people's lives, they don't take it, their lives take over rather than making the buying and the selling process a priority. But I think that especially in today's market, if it is something that you're serious about, making it a priority will help you win against everybody else that's out there.
I agree. The market will not wait for you out there in this market. That's for sure.
For sure. Well, thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate you checking in. Follow us on YouTube, on our social channels. If you need an evaluation, just even knowing what your property's worth, or would like to sit down and have any questions for Ryan or I, would be happy to help you out with any of your real estate needs. And we hope you have a great summer.